Good afternoon, friends. So, we were discussing regarding the organon, and in last lecture we have discussed regarding the fifth aphorism in detail. In fact, 2 days we were discussing about the fifth aphorism from the fifth aphorism from the organon of medicine, and in which we have learned every aspect which is in fact most practical aspect of understanding the organon of medicine of the fifth aphorism. Here he explains two important things: how to deal with the acutes and how to deal with the chronics. If you are dealing with the acutes which are caused because of exciting cause, it is very ready-made solution is there, because if you get the exciting causes, you can handle those cases very easily with the help of that. And then he has explained regarding the chronic diseases, which are caused because of chronic miasms, the fundamental cause. And he explains over there that in whole history, the most significant points which are responsible to produce a disease that you have to take into account, and how to investigate this fundamental cause. He has given number of things. He explains that to start with, ascertainable physical constitution, his moral and intellectual character, then his occupation, the mode of living and habits, then his social and domestic relation, and lastly his age and sexual function. In fact, every point has to be elaborated in detail. If you will consider how to enter into the one of the point just on the occupation, and you can take a whole lecture, because this is in fact homeopathy. Because when you are learning any specific point, when to deal with the chronic cases or chronic miasms, you have to understand it from all aspects. You have to understand it from different ways. So when you have to understand these points, ascertainable physical constitution gives you a one lecture, because there are multiple approaches which are there to find it out, those ascertainable physical constitution. In fact, it's a big one. If you show a study of a repertory in relation with the ascertainable physical constitution, you can do a dissertation or a thesis on that, on this only one topic, only one point. Moral and intellectual character again guides you. One total lecture can be devoted for such a thing. So every point which he has mentioned, in order to understand the chronic disease or in order to understand this fundamental cause, is very important and very huge in understanding. So already we have touched every aspect, and there are much more to be touched, and that is in fact your intellect should be used in order to understand them in a better way. If you want to understand all those points with the different aspects, you have to read a lot. You should be a voracious reader. You must read from different books, different peoples. There are a lot of stalwarts who have published their publications and their views. If you learn them, then you can acknowledge number of views in your mind, how these chronic cases can be tackled. Some of them might give you a clues to cut short your work. Some of them gives you details regarding those things. Everything is essential in your practice, because if the patients which comes to you, they comes with a different views, different aspects, and ultimately we should be rich with all types of aspects in our mind to tackle those cases. And that's why this fifth aphorism plays a very vital role to understand how to investigate that chronic disease. So this is what we have finished, and today we will continue with one more aphorism as per request of Dr. Chandrakant Vakar, and we'll conclude with this sixth aphorism, and then we'll conclude the organon. Because this is for the students, I have made an attempt to explain how to learn the organon. Organon is a subject which should be learned in this way, considering every word, every sentence, its meaning, what is exact, what Hahnemann wants to say behind that. Every word plays very vital role. And if you study organon in this manner, with your own way, you can be a very good homeopathic practitioner. So ultimately, so approach, how to approach organon, that already I have taught you. Now it is your duty to go ahead with this. Instead of doing organon, from tomorrow onwards, we'll going to, tomorrow or day after tomorrow, it depends upon that, we'll enter into the most practical parts or practical aspects of homeopathy, for even which will be useful for students as well as homeopathic practitioners. So from tomorrow onwards, we'll learn with a different approach. Today we'll start with the sixth aphorism. Let us see whether we can able to finish it today. The sixth aphorism, the first three words are very important. What he says over there? The unprejudiced observer. Sorry. The unprejudiced observer, well aware of the futility of transcendental speculations, which can receive no confirmation from experience, be his power of penetration ever so great, takes note of nothing in every individual disease except the changes in the state of health of the body and mind, morbid phenomena, accidental symptoms, which can be perceived externally by means of the senses. But must understand first three words. The unprejudiced observer. What is unprejudiced observation? We know the prejudiced observation. We know the word prejudiced. Prejudiced means biased. Why it is becomes biased? Why your mind becomes biased? Because you have given one important thing, that is the mind over there. And in that mind, there is one more thing in your brain is there, one part of brain which collects everything, that is called as a memory. So whatever we observe with our own eyes, right from the childhood till you are up to date, you can store n number of things in your mind. And those are stored over there, which comes again and again, reflects again and again in front of your mind whenever similar situation happens. Because you have gifted with two more things. There is an intellect given to the human being. There is a logic which has been given to the human being. So you have gifted with intellect along with the logic, that means a reasoning capacity or reason gifted mind. And that's why this reason gifted mind can be utilized for the production of, these are the things which are responsible to become a prejudiced. What happens? Our intellect utilizes this logic, utilizes this memory, and reflects it immediately in front of your mind whenever you have a similar situation in your life. And that's why its reflection produces a prejudiced observation. I will give you a simple example. You went to any tourism in holidays. You enjoyed those holidays either in the Matheran, and next year again you go for another tour. You go to the Mahabaleshwar. And what happens when, as soon as your mind immediately, your intellect immediately brings back whatever the memories of the Matheran are there, brings back in front of it with the help of a logic and starts comparing. What happens because of that? You miss the real opportunity, what is happening with you. Now you go into the past, you are not in the present state. You start comparing the past with the present, and you are becoming prejudiced. Because of prejudiced mind, you never finds it out the reality. You never able to find it out the present state. and you miss a number of things because of that. This is the problem of intellect, the logic and memory which is gifted to the human being. To become an unprejudiced is a very difficult task for the human being. Because of this mind itself, you are prejudiced, and that's why in your life you always remains either in the past or either in the future, because all those things which are gifted to you, the logic is gifted, the intellect is gifted, the memory is gifted, and that's why you miss the present state. You either remains in the past, either remains in future. This to become unprejudiced, Hahnemann says, it is the most difficult task. Because when we learn homeopathy, we learn organon, we learn materia medica, we learn repertory, and as soon as we start learning this, everything gets stored in your memory. You read the aconite, it has been stored. You read the pulsatilla, it has been stored. You read the ignatia, it is stored. You read the natramur, it is stored. You read the sepia, or it has been taught you in the class, and sepia is there over there. Whenever patient comes in front of you, what happens? Your mind, your intellect never remains silent. It starts working immediately. A single sentence uttered by the patient, immediately your intellect comes out. It immediately brings back memory. Yes, whether patient looks pulsatile, whether patient looks natrum, whether patient looks ignatia, whether patient looks sepia. It brings out all things in front of your mind. This is too important. This is what is one normal human being who does it in the similar manner. Because this has been stored in your brain. It has been stored in your memory. And that's why it comes out because you have gifted with logic. And immediately, what do? You start comparing. That is the function of your brain. Comparison, analysis is the function of the logic which is gifted to you. And that's why you whenever patient is sitting in front of you and you have read only 4 remedies out with which you approach, and you start comparing it, and then it happens in your life that कभी तो पल्स लगती है, कभी तो सेपिया लगती है, कभी तो इग्नेशिया लगती है, कभी तो नेट्रम लगती है. This happens. Why this happens? This happens only because of prejudiced mind. This prejudiced mind developed only because it has been stored in your brain, in your memory. To come out of it is a very difficult task. And what you have to do? If you want to become unprejudiced, you have to make an habit. When you are dealing with the patient, whatever thoughts comes, forget about that thought. Again, ask next question according to the patient. You ask every question, lead with whatever the patient's answer is there, and go ahead with whatever the patient says. Go on asking everything. Write it down without thinking of the remedy. Number of times it happens, the remedy reflects to your mind. Whenever patient utters single characteristic, it immediately comes. But still, you have to remain out of that remedy. If it comes in your mind, just look towards that remedy, forget about things, what is there in the remedy. For that purpose, if you want to become a good unprejudiced observer, one thing you have to follow, you go doing the regular meditation. So that there are a number of thoughts comes whenever you start doing meditation, and those thoughts gradually you have to look just with those thoughts without reacting to thoughts, and automatically you become gradually there will be less number of thoughts which comes at that time, and it helps to your case taking. Regular meditation plays a very vital role so that accumulation of thoughts becomes very less. So to become an unprejudiced, you have to work very hard. You have to make an habit while dealing with the patient. Just write down what patient says. And that's why writing down in detail, as in the similar words as uttered by the patient, is very important in case taking. This is what Hahnemann explained. When you start writing down, you write it every sentence by sentence, keeping a distance, so that if anything is remaining, you can ask accordingly, and don't interrupt the patient. Don't ask a leading question, because leading question is always formed because you are prejudiced. So don't get prejudiced. Ask such a questions, and questions should be very properly formed, so that gradually you get an habit to become unprejudiced. And if you become unprejudiced, you get a very proper simillimum. Otherwise, you tries to fit your remedy in with the patient, and this habit makes lot of failures in your practice. And that's why the first three words which he explains to start with the sixth aphorism, unprejudiced observer. Yes, to become unprejudiced, very, very important. Good, difficult task, but a very important task in human life. Dr. Shankaran sir always says that to become an unprejudiced, you should be idiot. If you are idiot, what happens? You forget, you never think. And during case taking, you should not think what he suggests. And this is too important, because thinking itself reflects a previous memory in front of your mind. And that's why he always used to say in his seminar, the homeopath should be if homeopath is an idiot, then he will going to take a good case. He will get whatever the patient explains, and he writes everything over there. So unprejudiced observation is nothing but the unbiased observation. Unbiased observation means there is nothing in your mind regarding only whatever the patient says, that you are going to write without thinking about any complaint. You have to think, but you have to think at the end when the case taking is complete, but not immediately. So what he says is very important. The unprejudiced observer, well aware of the futility. Futility म्हणजे काय? तर निरर्थकपणा, निरर्थक, ज्याचा काहीच उपयोग नाही, निरर्थक कृती. Well aware of the futility of transcendental speculations. ट्रान्सडेंटल म्हणजे त्याचाही अर्थ महत्त्वाचा असतं. ट्रान्सडेंटल म्हणजे सामान्य माणसाला लवकर समजणार नाही असं, किंवा ज्याला संदिग्ध आपण म्हणतो, विच इज नॉट इझिली अंडरस्टूड. ट्रान्सडेंटल स्पेक्युलेशन, तर्क. स्पेक्युलेशन म्हणजे तर्क. विच सो वेल अवेअर ऑफ द फ्युटिलिटी ऑफ ट्रान्सडेंटल स्पेक्युलेशन्स विच कॅन रिसीव no confirmation from experience. See, what is very important, which can receive no confirmation from experience. So you should not develop a confirmation after anything which you have observed. So for example, a patient is sitting in front of you, and patient just comes and sits like this, and immediately, arey, this is sulfur distoy. You never understood that he has a kyphosis, because you have not yet observed anything, but immediately you have thought. That is a transcendental speculation which happened because you don't know the reality, and this happens. And this is in fact a thing which creates a problem in your mind. There was a joke, and which was very essential there were three practitioners over there. One of them is the neurologist, one of them is the orthopedician, and one of them is a physician, who were sitting over there, and they saw one man who was coming from long distance, and he was walking in a limping way. So immediately orthopedician saw, and he says, we'll see who is the talented out of us. And he, as soon as he saw, he says that patient might be having avian. That's why he is limping. This is my diagnosis. I am quite correct. I am quite confident. Then neurologist is over there. No, you are wrong. Patient might have a paralysis, poliomyelitis in the past. That's why he is walking like that. The third fellow, who was the physician, who looks toward the patient, And again he says something you don't know the diagnosis, you don't understand anything, and I'm quite sure that he had paralysis earlier and that's why he was walking like this. And then they decide what to do. Let us come that fellow to us and then we'll discuss. So they ask, he remains over there, and as soon as he reaches, they ask, what is your problem because of which you are walking like this? And that fellow explains that sir, what has happened, that my shoe that has been just torn, and that's why I could not use that properly, and that's why I am limping. So what has happened? A prejudiced mind created a problem. With a prejudiced mind, there was a problem, and they were not able to come to a proper exact diagnosis. And this is what happens with homeopaths always. And that's why you should not be a prejudiced. What he says further, well aware of the futility of transcendental speculation which can receive no confirmation from experience, be his powers of penetration ever so great. जरी तो प्रचंड हुशार असेल, even though he is very very intelligent, where he can look toward the patient and can judge, even though he should not do that, but what he should do, be his power of penetration ever so great, takes note of nothing in every individual disease. What he says, takes note of nothing in every individual disease. He never takes anything and never goes on finding it out what is, except what he observes, what he should observe. If he is an unprejudiced observer, what he will going to observe, except the changes in the health of the body and of the mind. What are the things which one should observe? Is the changes in the state of health of the body, state of the health at the level of a body as well as the mind, which he called by the name of morbid phenomena. So this is diseased phenomena. Earlier the person was absolutely healthy, and now this person has become diseased. So now he is coming to in a diseased state, and in this diseased state, this is expressing a morbid phenomena. This is expressing a diseased state. Accidents. Three important words which he has used. First, morbid phenomena. Second, accidents. And third, symptoms. Accidents means the things which happens in his life accidentally, which expresses in the form of some signs and symptoms. Cause behind the disorder is always remains over there. Accident is a thing which happens all of a sudden, which was not expected, and that's why accordingly, because of reaction, the person reacts, and sometimes he may fall ill and expresses in the form of symptoms. What is important for you? All those three things. You must know the cause which has happened earlier. You must know what are the symptoms which is the language of that disease, the reaction of the person. And third important thing, the morbid phenomena, means diseased phenomena. So these are the things which are essential for you. You have to compare it with the previous state of health, and now you have to find it out what is exactly morbid, what is exactly diseased, which was not there in the healthy state, which can be perceived externally by means of the senses. Perceived means verbal or non-verbal communication you can observe and understand. So you have to compare that patient in previous to the disease and now in the disease state, and you have to find it out what is abnormal. This is in fact this is the thing which will guide you towards the exact remedy. If you consider anything on the basis of a single symptom, you are prejudiced. Unprejudiced observer never do these things. And that's why what unprejudiced observer does, this has been mentioned over there by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, is that you have to look for what is morbid phenomena, what are the symptoms, what are the accidents happens in his life which were responsible to bring out these disease condition or disease states. And then he says, that is to say, he notices only the deviations from the former healthy state of the now deceased individual. काय पाहतो तो? What he used to look, what is now present in the patient, what is now there in the deceased state. Former healthy state, a deviation from the former healthy state to a now deceased state. He has to follow, he has to look for that thing. He has to find it out, that thing. What is abnormal now? What was normal earlier, now what is abnormal? Because that abnormal, that state guides you towards the remedy, towards the simillimum. And from whom you can get that knowledge? There are three important essential things, essential parts from whom you can gather all those things. So he says, he notices only the deviations from the former healthy state of the now deceased individual, which are felt by the patient himself. Who is the first person in this observation? The patient himself. Patient is the most important part in the case taking. He will going to guide you regarding each and everything, what has happened with him. So you will find it out, what are the problems with the patient. He himself says, doctor, I am having severe headache. So if he explains the headache, he explains, doctor, headache, that it becomes very heavy in my head. So you are getting symptom which is subjective, which is felt by the patient, with which he is expressing the symptom along with the sensation, and all those things which are very important for you, because all the subjective symptoms you can get only from the patient, and subjective symptoms plays very vital role in your prescription, because they forms most important part of your totality. And that's why what he says, that you get all the things from the patient first. So first important part in the case taking, in dealing with the patient, is patient himself. So patient can give you both the things, the subjective symptoms as well as objective symptoms. He can give regarding his state, or you are able to watch with the patient. So first is the patient, so which are felt by the patient himself. Second part is remarked by those around him. Remarked म्हणजे काय? Someone who is associated, present along with the patient, they tells you something about the patient. They will guide you. Yes, if the patient is not in a condition sometimes in order to discuss anything, or he is unconscious, or he is not able to talk with you, these are the peoples with whom you can get a desired thing. What you want? You want what was the cause? What are the symptoms? How he was earlier and now who he is at present. So you have to find it out, all this state. Yes, first person is always patient. Along with the patient, if even though patient has given everything, you must ask it to the present attendants, relatives or friends, whoever they are there, because that will confirm what patient has said. And if patient is unconscious, patient is not in a state of expressing the things, at that time these are second persons which are important in your case taking, understanding the patient. So first always is the patient himself, second is the attendants. So remarked by those around him, and third is and observed by the physician. And third comes your perceiving power. When you observe that fellow, when you observe that individual who is suffering from a disorder, it is your intellect, your memory, your logic ultimately understands patient a lot. So you can judge with whatever comes to you. So if patient is there, he is conscious enough, you can write it down, all things from his mouth, from attendance, and then you clinically examine and write it down, everything. So these are most important things which guides you towards the portrait, and these are most important things which are very essential for you in order to understand the human being. See very nicely, this is the single sentence which he has finished at that level, starting from the unprejudiced observer till the observed by the physician. This was in fact the method which was very famous during Hahnemannian time, that within a single sentence he gives you ample things and you can understand a patient, a person in a better aspect. So now unprejudiced observer, what he does with his intellect, only finds it out what is abnormal, what was prior to the abnormality or disease state, what was there in the health state of health, and what is now deviation in the form of signs and symptoms. Those are either subjective or objective, from the patient, from the attendant, and from himself. So whatever comes out is nothing but very essential thing for you. It gives you everything. It gives you regarding the patient's nature. It guides you regarding the patient's constitution. So what a physician can observe? Physician can observe how the person is, how he looks. So constitution he can observe. The physician can observe that how the patient behaves, his behavior, and he can perceive certain things regarding the behavior of the patient. Then physician can clinically examine the patient and finds it out his results. He can get pulse, the blood pressure, the clinical examination, everything, whatever he gets, that is important for him in order to understand the patient. Whatever he gathers reflects the patient himself, reflects that human being. It is not the thing which will immediately going to give you the remedy. It is the thing which is essential to understand that human being. So unprejudiced observation guides you to get everything about the patient in detail, that will be useful for you in further progress of that or further investigation of that patient. Then he says, all these perceptible signs represent the disease in its whole extent. All these perceptible म्हणजे काय? Which you can observe, which you can see, which you can perceive. These are the signs which are important, represent the whole extent, the disease in its whole extent. That is, together they form the true and only conceivable portrait of the disease. What he says, whatever you will going to collect from all those things, from the patient, from the attendants, from your own observation, that will give you to understand the disease in its whole extent. That will not guide you remedy. That will not, he is not saying that this is the thing which will guide you directly for the remedy. What he says, these are the things which are very important in order to understand the disease in its whole extent, and they form the true and only conceivable portrait of the disease. Conceivable म्हणजे काय? Conceivable म्हणजे ज्याची कल्पना करता येईल तुम्हाला की अरे yes, this is the patient. You get everything and you have observed, yes, this is the patient. In short, this is the patient, what he is expressing. You have understood the patient in that way. So conceivable means which you can understand with your own mind, which you can think with your own concept. You can create a picture of the whole human being. Portrait of the disease. Portrait म्हणजे पोर्ट्रेटचा अर्थ हुबेहूब चित्र, जसं आहे तसं, as it is, whatever is as it is, that is called as a portrait. So if you ask anyone to do a portrait of a certain person, he collects everything and tries his level best to make a portrait. So everything will be included in that portrait. See, portrait consists of everything. Portrait consists of everything, including the human constitution, human nature, miasm, your symptoms, subjective symptoms, objective symptoms, clinical examination results, everything. And if you look towards it with a modern point of view, even the investigations is one of the part which is there in the portrait of this, because it guides you regarding the disease. It never guides you towards the prescription. See, this is too important to understand. What you are observing, you are finding it out a portrait of the disease. And from what you are finding it out a portrait? Only with the help of a unprejudiced observation. You are doing unprejudiced observation, and because of which you are able to come to a certain portrait of that disease. That portrait will be helpful in future to find it out a remedy. But that portrait itself is not responsible to guide you towards the remedy. Out of that portrait, what is essential in order to find it out simillimum, that has mentioned in the next aphorism. So portrait consists of everything. Portrait explains you everything. So there might be some maintaining causes that comes over there. There might be some obstacles that are also included over there. There might be miasmatic focuses there, that also comes in the portrait. Everything comes in the portrait. Portrait is not a specific part. Portrait covers everything about that human being, everything about that deceased human being. And that's why when you become unprejudiced, you can get a good portrait of disease. Out of that good portrait, something which is essential for your prescription, that is explained in the next aphorism. But we'll conclude with this aphorism, because we have to go ahead. There is one footnote for this last sentence, that is portrait of disease. Whatever he has mentioned is regarding the homeopathy. So this paragraph is devoted to the homeopathic aspect of looking towards the deceased person. And now he compares it in the footnote with the modern science or allopathic science or old school practitioner. And that comparison, every time you will find that footnote is always for the comparison. So generally whatever is said in the earlier aphorism, that has been compared with the footnote. And those things one must observe. This is very important thing Hahnemann have made in this aphorism, that every time he has tried to compare the things with the modern science, and he tried to impose on your mind how our science deals with the patient with a holistic approach. So now there is second footnote. In the first footnote we have also learned the theoretical aspect which is there in the allopathic science, which is not at all useful for the patient, and he explains over there that the practical aspect is necessary. Now let us see what he says in that footnote. So what he says, I know not, therefore, how it was possible for physicians at the sick bed to allow themselves to suppose that, without most carefully attending to the symptoms and being guided by them in the treatment, they ought to seek and could discover only in the hidden and unknown interior what there was to be cured in disease, arrogantly and ludicrously pretending that they could, without paying much attention to the symptoms, discover the alteration that had occurred in the invisible interior and set it to rights with, in bracket, unknown medicines, and that such a procedure as this could alone be called a radical and rational treatment. See, this is too important. See, he has made a comparison of the homeopathy with the old school treatment, and he has, with mocking, he says that how can be they call themselves as the rational practitioners or radical practitioners of the healing art. They themselves tells you that they are looking towards the cause of the disease. And Hahnemann says, without attending to the symptoms of the patient. They never look towards the symptoms, what patient is saying. They immediately look, yes, within a minute, and they comes to some certain conclusion and immediately apply their weapons. Even today, the similar approach is used. You go to any physician, any doctor, and how he examines. If you go towards any physician and you tell them that, doctor, I am having very severe sore throat, and you want to explain to him that I am having very severe burning over there on the right side. It has started on right side and then it has entered to the left side, and there is severe pain associated with my ears, and I cannot swallow the cold food, I cannot get the cold. If it touches, it aggravates. If I drink warm water, then I feel better. These are all your subjective symptoms. whether he is interested in listening to them. What do? He asks you, just sit. He takes his torch, or asks you to open the mouth. He looks towards this and he says, yes, you are having tonsillitis. Let us start with the remedy. He have not understood anything. He thought it might be an infection. What was the thought? It might be an infection. Without listening to the patient's symptoms, he comes to the conclusion. Hahnemann criticized this approach of the old school. They are coming to the conclusion without properly attending to the patient's symptoms. Symptoms guides you or guide you towards a very perfect simillimum. If this patient is expressing every symptom in a detail so that you can get a very perfect remedy in your homeopathy and which will cure that patient forever, but with allopaths, they never cares for such symptoms. They always look for something which is not, which they cannot. They says that this is because of infection without knowing that where is the infection. Hahnemann says, how can they look for the causes? How can they tell you that this is the cause of the disease? Which is already there in the invisible interior. He uses very good words, which is there into the invisible interior. So he is explaining that the cause is always there at the level of a vital force. And how can they say that they know the cause of the disease? Whatever they say, they explain, that is only the superficial cause of the disease. That is only the prima causa morbi. That is only the primary cause of the disease, and which is responsible to produce a superficial changes. The main cause behind the disease always lies there at the level of invisible plane, dynamic plane, at the level of a vital force, and that cause is not visible. And still they pretend, the word which he has used very nicely, that only in the hidden and unknown interior what there was to be cured in disease, arrogantly and ludicrously pretending. Arrogantly म्हणजे उद्धटपणे, ludicrously हास्यास्पदपणे. So they look towards you and they talk, yes, this is the diagnosis, yes, you are suffering from streptococcal infection, let us take this antibiotic, without knowing that this is not only the cause. Because those streptococci remains to be there every time, and till that period, till his vital force was normal, they were not able to do anything with that patient. So this is too important to understand over here, the concept of disease in homeopathy. We consider that it is the derangement of the vital force which is of prime importance, and then any prima causa morbi can cause the disease. Till that period it is not possible. So when we say that malaria is caused because of malaria, we say that the typhoid is caused by the Salmonella typhi, or when we say the Mycobacterium tuberculosis causes the tuberculosis, these are the sentences which are half truth, that they are not purely truth, they are not the complete truth. Why it is so? It is because these bacteria will not able to affect the human being unless his vital force is deranged. Till the patient is in a completely healthy state, these bacteria, even though remains in your body for a longer time of duration, are not able to cause a disease. And that's why it itself suggests that disease arises inside the body first, and then these primary factors are responsible to produce a disease. This concept one should understand very clearly. So if a patient has to become sick, he should become sick first at the level of vital force, and then that dengue virus, dengue bacilli can able to produce or affect the human body, or then that virus which we called as the coronavirus is able to affect you and produce a COVID-19. Till you are healthy, you will not going to suffer from that. And for that purpose, it is essential to understand the concept of disease in homeopathy. That is nothing but the derangement of vital force, which is invisible, and still those old school practitioners confidently says that these are the causes of the disease. But now let us understand the even modern concept. They used to do your tuberculin test number of times. The patient suffers from cough and cold, and they do the tuberculin test, and tuberculin test is positive. Then they are not confident to give anti-tubercular treatment. They ask you to do sputum. If sputum is negative, they says that you have a tuberculosis bacilli in your body, but still you don't have a tuberculosis. That is again a same thing which now they are coming out. So tuberculin test positives or Montos test positive never means that you are suffering from tuberculosis. It only means that tubercular bacilli is there in your body. Same concept. So then they says when you become ill, or when there is a proper derangement, disturbance, or if a person becomes weak by any means, his immunity gets disturbed by any means, at that time this tubercular bacilli can cause a tuberculosis. So definitely it means that disease happens inside first, and then these bacilli comes or affects the human body. And this is what he wants to explain to all of you, that in the next paragraph of that footnote, he explains these three words which will come, that to which he labeled by the name of prima causa morbi. So prima causa morbi are nothing but very, very, very superficial causes of the diseases. They are only primary, able to produce a disorder if the things are possible. If there is already a disease, then this can cause a disease. If the person is absolutely healthy, these are not able to produce a disease unless and until there is a problem at the level of vital force. What he says in next paragraph of footnote is not then that which is cognizable. Cognizable म्हणजे काय? कॉग्निजेबल म्हणजे माहिती असलेला, ज्ञेय असलेला किंवा एखादी गोष्ट माहीत असणं, विच इज कॉग्निजेबल बाय द सेन्सेस इन डिसीजेस थ्रू द फिनॉमिना इट डिस्प्लेज. द डिसीज itself in the eyes of the physician. The disease itself in the eyes of the physician, since he never can see the spiritual being that produces the disease, the vital force. He has made a question mark. Nor is it necessary that he should see it, but only that he should ascertain its morbid actions, in order that he may thereby to be enabled to cure the disease. What else will the old school search for in the hidden interior of the organism as a prima causa morbi? Underline prima causa morbi, whilst they reject an object of cure and contemptuously म्हणजे तिरस्कारयुक्त, contemptuously despise म्हणजे तुच्छ लेखन, contemptuously despise the sensible and the manifest representation of the disease, the symptoms that so plainly addresses themselves to us. What else do they wish to cure in diseases but these? So here he is comparing them with the old school treatment. Old school practitioner always looks to find it out, that prima causa morbi. Whenever you go with fever towards an allopath, they ask you to do a certain investigation. They ask you to do a Montos test, they ask you to do a Vidal test, they ask you to do a rapid malaria test, or all those tests. If everything finds to be a normal, they label that this is idiopathic. You observe, you read in the Davidson's medicine, and you find it out causes of the diseases in number of chronic diseases, and you will find this is the first cause which they labeled idiopathic. And what is idiopathic? Which is not known to the idiots, which are not known to anyone, because causes always remains over there at the level of, they are at the level of vital force, at the level of dynamic. And this is one important thing one should not forget. And he has compared that these people just looks towards the such prima causa morbi. Instead of that, they should look towards the symptom, which is the language of the disease. The disease happens at the level of interior, at the level of dynamics, at the level of dynamic plane in the vital force, which is reflected in the form of symptoms in the patient, and those symptoms guides you towards a proper remedy which can cure that patient permanently. If you are trying to kill those bacteria with the help of antibiotics, you can kill the bacteria, but original disease which you will not going to treat with the help of all those remedies. And that's why one infection disappears, another comes, again you suffer, again you take antibiotic. So this sequence goes on, or this cycle goes on, because your aim is not to cure the patient, but your aim is to treat or palliate only that situation. So this is what Hahnemann have mentioned regarding the sixth aphorism. So this is, in fact, I can say this is a short review on this subject, on this sixth aphorism. In fact, if I'm teaching this in the class, I would have taken 2 days to discuss this aphorism, but there is a time limit for us because lot of sessions are there for everyone. So we'll stop over here. Let us learn organon in this way and learn every sentence by sentence, so you can understand all the things in the patient. So this organon is very important guide in the homeopathic practice. If you learn organon by heart, you will never forget or you will never fail in your practice. Whatever Hahnemann have written in this book is absolutely having a practical value if you are able to understand it properly. So thank you being with me since last 1 hour. Tomorrow we're going to start with something practical and we'll turn towards the different approach. I have taught you how to learn organon. Now it is your duty to learn whole organon in this way, understand organon and make your own notes and apply that organon in your practice. That will be in fact most important thing in order to improve your practice. So we'll stop over here and conclude the organon today. Later on, as time permits, I will put the videos regarding or on this commentary on organon. Whenever time permits, I will upload those videos on YouTube channel. So again, request for all of you to subscribe the channel so that you can get a lot of notifications regarding whatever I have uploaded over there. The name of the channel is Dr. Prasad Rasa, the Divine School of Homeopathy. So thank you being over here. One more thing I want to discuss with you. We have WhatsApp groups, Homeopathy and Homeopathy 1. Problem is that in WhatsApp we used to get only 256 candidates, and that's why after finishing that we have to create another. But there is no interaction between the people who are there in first group and second group. So I was thinking to start a new group on Facebook itself, so that which includes everyone over there. And that's why I'm going to form a group by the name of the Divine School of Homeopathy on Facebook, and so that everyone can be there in that, and there will be a good discussion because there are number of practitioners in our groups and those are doing very good homeopathic practice. Some are utilizing materia medica, some are very good with the repertories, some are very good with the different approaches. So you can acknowledge number of things in our that group. So I will going to form the Divine School of Homeopathy new group on the Facebook, and you can join that group. I will send you invitations. You can send me an invitation. I will approve your invitation and you will be there in the group, so that we'll have ample things to be discussed and ample practitioners who are practicing very nicely different parts of the India. They will going to share everything in that. But only suggestion is that in that group we'll discuss only and only homeopathy. So thank you being there since long time, and we'll meet tomorrow. Even though tomorrow is a Sunday, we're going to be discuss homeopathy tomorrow. What topic I have not yet decided, but definitely a most practical topic I will going to discuss tomorrow. I have not got the time to think over the subject, so I will let you know either on Facebook also and as well as on WhatsApp also regarding the tomorrow's topic. But I will be there definitely sharp at the 2:30. Thank you very much.